Aw yeah, hey what's up everyone, welcome to FILMspiration, the place where filmmakers come to get inspired. My name is writer-director Edgar Ibarra. Let's get down to business. So if you've not done so, please hit that subscribe button and also maybe the little bell right next to it. That way you're notified next time I put out a new video. If for being notified, maybe Instagram, Twitter, or the Facebooks are your thing, go ahead and check out some links in the description to this video so that you can be notified on those platforms. So just over a week ago now, I was blessed with the privilege to be able to have an on-camera chat with Mr. Avai D'Amico. Avai is a filmmaker here in Tucson, and he graciously came out to one of my sets as a background extra, which I do appreciate. Thank you so much, Avai, and everyone else who came out that night. But the more I started to see what Avai was up to online, the more curious I got because of the very specific topic of tiny houses. I had first heard about the tiny house movement back in 2008 when the recession really fired up, and we started seeing more videos on YouTube about alternative forms of transportation, alternative forms of living, alternative this and that. Tiny houses was one of those things. So when I saw that Avai was doing something on the topic, I really wanted to ask him a question. So without further ado, filmmaker, Mr. Avai D'Amico.
I'm currently working on my first feature-length film, the Tiny House Movie, and it's about the tiny house movement. We're probably about halfway through production right now. Principal photography has been pretty sporadic and spread out over the course of the summer because I have a really tight budget. So I shoot a lot on weekends when my friends who have day jobs can take time to help me instead of being at work. It's a romantic comedy / coming of age sort of story about a millennial who got seasonal affective disorder and didn't really know what it was, but just knew that he was depressed all the time, and he decided to try to change everything about his life and go from a big house in a snowy area to a tiny house in the sunny desert. So it's loosely inspired by actual events. And then just the course of like my first year living in Tucson, trying to figure out how to actually live in a tiny house, because there's all those reality shows that show you how to build or how to buy or how to decorate a tiny house. Nothing I've seen actually talks about actually living in one. How do you find a place to park? How do you get connected to utilities if you work online and need Wi-Fi? So the movie has all of that as sort of the backdrop behind this romance story of boy meets girl, and they just, I don't know, I don't want to spoil anything, but it's going to be great.
Here's a question that I got, as you've probably already noticed way more than I have. Big genres here. Zombies, westerns, the narco thing, undocumented people. Why a movie about a tiny house and the tiny house movement?
So one reason I wanted to do a movie about tiny houses is because the only movie I'm aware of that's about tiny houses is a horror film, and that's a very niche genre. But I know there's an audience of people who are really into tiny houses, and I know because all the tiny house shows are on those networks like HGTV, where there's also a lot of crossover in the demographic with people who like romantic comedies and things that might be on like Hallmark and Lifetime. I figured, what if I made a romantic comedy with my tiny house? Like, I'd be the first one to do a thing that it seems like such an obvious idea to me. I don't understand why there aren't already 15 of these movies, but there aren't, so I'm going to try to be the first one.
Why is it important for you to give exposure to the tiny house movement?
I think it's really important that people see tiny house living as something that's possible, and also in a way that tackles the stigma around like hippies or anti-government fanatics wanting to live off-grid. Like, there's all kinds of different people who want to just downsize their life because life is too expensive or life is too stressful, and you don't have to go live in the middle of nowhere. You can live in a tiny house in the middle of a city. That's what I do, and I would rather be in the middle of a city than the middle of nowhere because of all the things I do and where I need to go for work to meet all my clients. I really like being centrally located, and I like not having to pay crazy electric bills when I need to run the AC all the time because it's really hot.
When can we expect the movie? Where can we see it? What are your plans for the movie?
We should be done shooting the tiny house movie this year, and it should be out 2019. I don't know for sure how I'm going to do the distribution. I know I want to hit some festivals first, but ideally I would like to be able to sell the movie, and I don't know if it would be like a theatrical release or a limited one or on a platform like Netflix, but I figure worst case scenario, I really just want the movie to get out, and if no one buys it from me, I'm going to spend the $300 to put it on Amazon Prime, and if I get all my friends to watch it twice a year, by the time I die, I might make my $300 back.
So there you have it, directly from the man, the myth, the legend, and the filmmaker, Mr. Avai D'Amico, as to why he chose to do a romantic comedy as the vehicle for the tiny house movement, which I think, frankly, the fusion of those two things for purposes of talking about the tiny house movement and many other things is brilliant. And the big takeaway there for me personally would be follow your heart with regards to the topic that you want to talk about. Yes, there are going to be certain genres that are definitely going to be way more popular than others, but that doesn't mean that you have to fall right into those genres right away, as Avai demonstrated that he said this is what he wants to talk about, this is where his heart lies, and this is basically what he wanted to expose the public to. So Mr. Avai D'Amico, kudos to you, man, for doing that, bro. That is balls to the wall courageous, man. Tons of respect for you on that. Now, once again, if you haven't hit that subscribe button or the bell right next to it to be notified, please do so. Also be notified on maybe Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, etc. All those links are going to be below. That way, you guys know when I put out another video with lots of love from me to you. In the meantime, everyone, thank you very much for tuning in. Once again, my name is writer-director Edgar Ibarra. This has been the Filmspiration. See you in the next one.